There is a version of India that has been broadcasted for a very long time, which needs to end. And so as long as you broadcast authentic India, I promise you India is more global than it has ever been.
Welcome. I'm Maneet Ahuja, editor-at-large at Forbes and founder of Iconoclast. And we're here at the NASDAQ market site with international comedian and actor Veer Das, whose latest Netflix special, Full Volume, as well as his role as an artist in residence with Lincoln Center, has cemented his place as one of comedy's most daring voices.
Thank you.
Now, with his debut memoir, The Outsider, which hit shelves this week, and his directorial debut, launching in January, Das is proving no creative frontier is one he cannot conquer. Veer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Thank you.
So, Veer, it's so great to have you here. And watching you, and we were talking backstage before we got started, I found so many similarities between how you share your craft with the world that are akin to journalism. And it's so surprising to hear. It's because you started in journalism at the same place that I did at CNBC. But tell me what really stood out to you in sharing your views. How do you think comedy connects people from a global perspective?
I mean, from a global perspective, I think best case scenario comedy can kind of add something to the mental map of stress that you have in your life. Like, I always feel like the Venn diagrams between a journalist and a politician and a comedian will always kind of intersect. Like, if something happens in the world, you expect a journalist to make truth of it, and a politician to make sense of it, and a comedian to make light of it. And,
I love that. That's a great
analogy. In a perfect universe, we don't swap jobs, but
right.
But
you have.
And politicians have too. But I don't know, I think there's a lot of stuff happening and everybody's trying to cope with it. And if I can create one additional stupid thought in your head where you're like, oh, this massive thing, I now think of something stupid because of this massive thing. And I laugh because of it 5 days after the comedy show. That's my best case scenario.
That's a great example. So you've built this international career in a space that didn't really have a clear blueprint for Indian comedians. What strategic choices or risks helped you break that mold?
I've just been sleeping with my audience members, one member at a time, across the world, and it's worked out massively for me. No, I'm kidding. The nice thing about beginning with a country of at that time, 3 billion people, is ticket sales do all right. You know, there's enough Indian people everywhere. We found each other today.
Right, we found each other.
So you'll always start out with the diaspora wherever you are in the world, and then at some point they'll bring their friends. So you go from Indian people to people who are sleeping with Indian people to people who are sleeping with people who are sleeping with Indian people, and then you just kind of widen out from there. But I think the best thing that happened was the Netflixes and the YouTubes of the world, where now, look, there is a local version of India available no matter where you are in the world.
Right.
So if you're in New York, there are 45 comics who will talk to you about Indians being CEOs and doctors and at Harvard and running a news agent or driving a taxi. Now you want somebody to tell you something new about India.
Right.
And so
broaden the aperture for what we traditionally have been in our careers. Doctor, 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 and doctor.
Lawyer. You forgot lawyer as well.
Sometimes lawyer,
if you
but
fail
I feel
at doctor,
like depends on what kind of lawyer.
Yeah. So now there's somebody who comes in and they're like, Mumbai is this vibrant place, and now come with me to Mumbai. And I think even Americans want that new experience, not just Indians. And for Indians, it's take me home. Not just this version of home that my parents used to tell me about, but this new home that I miss.
Right, that it's been a while. You know, I know growing up, going back to India, we would go pretty frequently, every 3 to 6 months for a short period.
That is very frequent. Yeah.
But then it would be once a year, and every single time, it didn't matter if it was 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. It seemed like a completely different country, right? So we're seeing that industrial revolution, so to speak, kind of happening in that phase that, you know, you and I were growing up in India, and I'm sure for all of the people that have kind of, you know, immigrated outside.
I think also the diaspora sometimes grows up in a time capsule version of India. It's whatever India your parents left behind.
Right, and that's what you remember.
Like I always say, if you want your children to be virgins at 25, you raise them in New Jersey, not in New Delhi. Because I feel like the diaspora grows up in this massively conservative version of India that
that doesn't really exist
Doesn't
anymore.
exist anymore,
Doesn't
you know?
exist anymore.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Netflix. Your recent special, Full Volume, felt almost cinematic in its structure. How intentional was that, and how do you think about pacing and emotional arcs in comedy? I mean, I think about it in journalism and storytelling, and so many of us in creative fields, it all boils down to storytelling,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
power of storytelling. So
Yes.
walk me through that.
I think, well, look, it's my 4th special and my 5th special with them, so I think I can do stand-up, hopefully, by this time. But my box is right next to a movie at the end of the day. So, what's the wonderful thing about a Netflix is I get the same size box as Tom Cruise and Shah Rukh Khan. And we're just competing for your
Right.
attention.
Yeah.
It's this massive democracy. So I think a stand-up special now has to elevate to the point where it feels like a movie. And it feels like it tells you a story, and there are 3 acts to it, and it competes with that level of storytelling. So it was very intentionally a Filmic special. I directed it, and we tried to shoot it not like a stand-up special, but like a movie.
Yeah, and you're so right, because I think so I've been doing research on this exact topic, and I think I heard in a recent interview with Ted Sarandos that maybe
Never heard of him. Sorry, no, I'm kidding.
CEO of Netflix, that I think you have about 30 seconds to capture the attention of the viewer. The
I mean, but doesn't
customer.
that scare the hell out of you? It
Right.
scares the hell out of me.
Right,
Like if all we have to offer each other is 30 seconds on Netflix and 3 seconds on TikTok, let's call this whole thing off anyway and just give it to AI. And be like, go. Because we have to be able to give each other more than that, I think.
Right. I know. I think it's just like we are giving it to AI, whether we like it or not. We just have to figure out how to keep the human aspect front and center.
I want to push back a little bit on that. I have this theory, and I feel like I will be proved correct in maybe 5 years.
Okay.
I suspect AI is a lot stupider than we think it is.
I think it is.
And
because
it's being built up for stock market valuations by these 5 guys. But I think eventually, if AI becomes a problem, we, the Indians, and China will destroy AI for you. We'll just create an AI that murders AI. Like ChatGPT will be killed by ChitTBG, and we'll all just kind of average out.
No, but in all fairness, I do agree with you in some aspects. I very often have to correct ChatGPT and be like, feed me back my question, but this time with the correct information. I know for a fact XYZ was wrong, so you do have a point. So I want to shift to the book for a moment.
Yes,
that's coming out tomorrow. What can people hope to learn about you from The Outsider, and why'd you give it that title? Why now, right? That's very much a question when you are in the public domain, is when is the right time to write a book during the trajectory of your career, especially a memoir. You're very much have a long runway, right? So curious to hear how it came together.
Well, it was, I mean, I have agents in America and they're very nice, but I kind of got the phone call saying, you won an Emmy, now write a book. And I was like, I don't feel like it's the right time, and I'll write it if you let me write a book about being midstream and about failure. For some reason, and I still don't know why, I have had an upbringing across the world and being let into more worlds than anybody I know. So I grew up in India and Africa and America in the UK. And for some reason, I've been led into stand-up comedy and Bollywood and Hollywood and rock music and done 3 world tours. And I've seen more of the world than anybody I know. And I've always felt this sense of belonging. So I was like, let me write a book for the person at the edge of the party, not the life of the party, who's just like, holy hell, I got invited to the coolest party in the world, and am I wearing the right thing, and should I keep shut, or I don't want to mess this up? And just about people looking to belong, about drifters, and about people who don't know where they're going to land yet. And I think that's the broader feeling in the world anyway.
Right.
I hate a chronicling of
That's
success.
so curious, though, that you called it The Outsider, but you're saying that you always felt like an insider, no matter where you went.
I've always been let into the inside, but I've never felt like an insider.
You've been inside the room, you've never felt like you belonged in the
Well,
room.
consider this, right? I'm 5'8.5" from a town called Noida, right, which is a poorer suburb of Delhi. The odds that I would get to be in 14 Bollywood movies, or have Netflix specials, or be on Conan O'Brien, or be on an ABC TV show, or I don't know, do 3 world tours is absolutely insane. It's
What do you think was that special alchemy that made all of that possible?
sheer dumb luck. It's just luck.
But so I'm going to push back because
Right.
I always say luck when people ask me about my career trajectory, which is good for a journalist but doesn't compare to yours. And they say, no, that's not it. But like, give me another one.
I suppose it is.
I don't disagree with you, but I want to know.
I suppose it is an authentic admission of the fact that I don't know where I am or how I got here, but I'm just super grateful to be here. And if you can do that in the moment that you're present in, you hopefully put out an energy into the world that endears you to people. Like I don't say this in an Instagram quote kind of way, but I am the product of many people's kindnesses, you know, and so it's been literally that. And then when you get there, I feel like, all right, so the first time I moved to Bombay in a night, and it's because I got to MC this food awards where they were giving, you know, awards out to the best restaurants, and these big Bollywood stars were sitting there. And I remember Aishwarya Rai, who's arguably one of the most beautiful people who ever lived
in the universe.
In the universe.
She was Miss Universe,
She was
right?
Miss Universe, comes up and goes, "Hey man, you're really funny," and fist bumps you. Now, in a moment like that, the universe is kind of telling you to be undeniable.
Right.
If for nobody else, just for Aishwarya Rai.
Right.
And you have to rise to that occasion. No pressure.
Yeah.
But if you're able to be yourself in that moment, I feel like you have a shot. And maybe that's just all it boils down to.
No, that's so fascinating and interesting. I really love that perspective. And the awareness and the gratitude and humility too, I think, go a long way. It's something I very much identify with. So you're also doing this artist in residency with Lincoln Center, and it's going to be a world tour, which is quite remarkable. You're coming off of a sellout run at Carnegie Hall. On top of that, why did you decide to do this show in this way, and what are your goals with it?
I want to see if Indian comedy is truly, truly, truly global.
Right.
You know, I remember getting last-minute tickets to go and see Clooney on Broadway, right? And the occasional Broadway show, and you sit in that room and you're like, my God, this is a convergence of, there's somebody from Norway, there's somebody from Alabama, there's somebody from Mumbai, and there's somebody from Japan. And we all just kind of sat down in this room, and it works for everybody. And I'm like, why can't Indian comedy in an Indian accent do that? Now, if you were to book out Carnegie Hall, and I've been blessed enough to do that, they see we show up.
We show up to support our
We show up to support our own, right? But then 4,000 Indian people will pack Carnegie Hall. But I'm like, can you do a run? Where on any given day, anyone from anywhere in the world can come out and see Indian comedy. So that's the mission. So I hope to do a Broadway run and a West End run with this show, which is about strangers. Right now, it's weird to have an artist in residency because I feel like I'm in drama school again. So a lot of people are telling me to emote with my shoulders and do other things.
I thought it would be longer, so it's 2 weeks.
It's 2
right
weeks
here, and then you go on a world tour. So the full length is how long?
It's it'll run for 2 years, but it begins with a 2-week run at the Lincoln Center, and then hopefully grows into a run. So right now it's a developmental run. So we're working on the show every day. I have 3 hours of dramaturgy, where we kind of post-mortem last night's show. And my director Moritz is amazing. I haven't worked with a director before for stand-up in a very, very long time. So that's interesting too, you know, to be in the room with, you know, Matthew Rhys from The Americans is next door doing his show, and I'm a huge fan. And we'll kind of have some biscuits together before we both go out on our stages, and both our directors have won Tonys. So it's nice to, I think, to get good at tennis, you have to play tennis with people who are better than you are. And so it's nice to be in a room with people who are better than I am.
You can volley back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So here at Forbes, we're always championing entrepreneurial capitalism and looking at things from a business lens.
Sure.
So tell me, how good a business is it to be a comedian with your own series of Netflix specials? How involved are you in the business side, funding rights, marketing? of your specials and shows?
I'm not very good at forecasting the future, but I'm almost entirely sure I will die penniless.
Okay. All right. Not really answering the question of how much money you're making.
I make a decent amount of money. I'm very happy. God has been very kind, and I'm entirely convinced I will spend it all. I have this policy where I don't really buy clothes, and I don't really buy possessions.
Okay.
But I travel really well, and I stay really well, and I eat really well, and I get front row seats, and I spend any amount of money on books and music. So it's all not on assets at all, if you understand. It's all just kind of burning cash, but it's a good way to see the world.
But as you're building your brand, for the people who are looking at it from a business lens, how involved are you as the talent in funding rights, marketing, all of those aspects that support your rise to where we are?
Not
at
all.
Much? Okay.
I kind of concentrate on feelings and jokes, and some people take care of it, but they and they're hopefully trustworthy. We'll find out. But you know, I find money stresses me out.
Stresses you out.
Very much so.
So you leave it to the bean counters.
I find that not caring about it allows it to come through the door sometimes.
So you've been seen as both the story and the storyteller. How do you control the narrative and maintain objectivity as a public figure and as a content creator?
I think the one difference I found between interacting with people who are in public life in America and in India is in America you are somehow able to control your narrative. There are systems in place and you can craft this sort of thing. And the one thing we Indians just kind of resign ourselves to is, yeah, we don't control the narrative. Somebody else is going to control the narrative and it'll shift.
Give me an example of that.
Well,
that's really interesting to me.
I don't think you get to control how your material will be interpreted. I don't think you get to control what goes viral anymore. If you're ever in trouble in America, there are about 3 things that you do really quick, right? You say you want antibiotics, and you go and cry on Oprah, and then you go and do 1 of 3 empathetic podcasts, right? Now, take the audience that is coming after you or supporting you in America and multiply it by 4.
Right.
And make it the largest smartphone audience in the world and the largest social media audience in the world. You can't control that at all. You just kind of have to...
So do you just block out the noise then? Do you check your social media? Do you
I check my social media.
Engage with your fans? Like how do you...
You never want to remove yourself from feedback because then what are you writing about, really? Right? So I do check in with social media. I do read way more comments than are good for my health. But, you know, I'm a work in progress. I'm figuring it out. But I've till date never been able to control the narrative or to crisis manage or to pivot. I just don't know how to do those things.
You just put your hands up. So we're almost at the end, but I want to go back to the beginning. And where we started it is that something that you and I have in common is we both worked at CNBC, me here in the US, you in India. I'm curious, because this book is not out yet, it'll be out tomorrow, but how did you make the transition from working in a business news environment to becoming this international comedian and actor?
Well, I don't think enough people say this today, but I have tremendous respect for journalists. You know, I remember.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I remember I had a tiny corner in CNBC in a newsroom that very much resembled this, and there was a main news desk and exactly these cameras with a slightly larger jib, and you know, and I remember I was doing my segment, which we rolled at 4 o'clock, and 2 anchors rushed in, and I was in the corner, so I couldn't cross frame, and broke the news of the Mumbai terror attacks, you know, and I sat in the corner for 8 hours as I watched news anchors without a break, you know, with the studio director in my ear, you know, talking about another train and another train and another train, and I saw what they did, and I looked out from a pane of glass and saw journalists running around, doing one of the most beautiful jobs in the world. And the only real takeaway from that is, my God, truth is a powerful thing that requires responsibility. And I try and put some monicum of truth in my stand-up. So I think that's
Right.
the takeaway from a CNBC. But
Right.
I
But
think it's very easy to.
what was that first leap of, I'm going to go do this? How did it start? Were you, auditioning or trying out material at comedy clubs late at night?
I got offered a Bollywood movie. I put
With no experience, with no...
I'd gone to drama school, so I can
Oh,
act,
okay,
right?
okay.
But then I was in this news channel, and I was making
Did you have
good
to
money.
audition for it?
No, what happened was I went in for the audition, and I gave them a DVD of my stand-up, and I was auditioning for the 5th lead, and then I took an auto rickshaw home, and by the time I got to the house, the director called me up and he said, "You're the lead in my movie."
Wow.
And
So,
I
yeah.
quit my job at CNBC.
So luck did, okay, I take it back. It does sound like you've had a good amount of luck.
And then nobody watched the movie. 8 of us went to see it, my family and me, on its premiere day to the theater, and there were like not enough people showed up. The first show's cancelled. So, some of that luck has happened as well.
Right. Okay, so finally, last question. We're almost out of time. But what can the next generation of Indian storytellers learn from your journey in navigating global markets while staying authentic to themselves?
India is new, India is uncharted, and India is unbroadcasted. There is a version of India that has been broadcasted for a very long time, which needs to end. And so as long as you broadcast authentic India, I promise you India is more global than it has ever been. So if you're sitting in front of 2,000 Americans or British people or anywhere in the world, talk to them about your local neighborhood, and you will entirely entice them and hypnotize them.
All right, Veer, that was awesome. Congratulations on The Outsider, which is about to hit shelves. And thank you so much for joining us on Iconoclast at the NASDAQ Market
I
Space.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.